Dignitaries in the webinar today, which is the third Indo-US Services Summit. The Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Textiles, who's Mr. Shri Piyush Goyal, who's going to join as the chief guest. Then respected Dr. Lalit Bhasin, National President IACC, respected Shri Pankaj Boraji, Vice President IACC, respected Ma'am Upasana Arora, President IACC-NIC, guest of honor, Mr. Jonathan M. Heimer, Minister Councillor, and Kalpana Balasubramaniam, CEO, Chief Thinker, Grant Thornton, and other secretariats. Today, I thank the gracious presence of all dignitaries and would like to speak upon the main theme: services, opportunities, and challenges, both with respect to India and US. We chose some of the thrust sectors in this third edition, that is legal services, financial services, ITS services, tourism services, and healthcare services, with wide-ranging deliberations, elaborate discussions, perceiving new paths for the services to grow, and the way forwards held in each of these respective panels since morning. Health growth trend will continue. During 22-23, the country's service exports rose by 42% to US dollar $322.72 billion from US dollar $254 billion in 21-22. Based on the current trend, the continuing growth are estimated around USD 375 billion by 23-24. India's booming service industry is a remarkable illustration of how modern economic growth models can outperform traditionally established ones. India has the fastest growing service sector, which is contributing over 50% to the country's GDP. The gross value added in the service sector is estimated to grow to 9.1% in financial year 23. The growth of India's service sector has drawn global attention because of, unlike other countries where economic growth has led to a shift from agriculture to industries, India has registered a shift from agriculture to the service sector. And in the US, powering the services economy is the main theme. Services account for 80% of the US GDP and employ 8 out of 10 Americans. Services make traditional industries like manufacturing and farming more competitive. The common agenda of India and US today is to advance inclusive and sustainable growth and making the services scenario more resilient and adaptable. Engage in consultations with regional partners and stakeholders on several areas of focus: reinvigorating regional economic institutions, making more resilient supply chains, creating clean energy jobs, and advancing decarbonization and biodiversity, and ensuring sustainable and inclusive trade in services. Funding to boost semiconductors, these are all common to India and US. The United States is the largest service importer in the world. In the 2022, US imports of services was $680.3 billion, up by 23.7% from 2021. US imports of the services account for 17.2% of the overall US imports in 2022. Trade in services with India. Exports and imports totaled an estimating 54.1 billion in 2019. Services exports were 24.3 billion, services imports 29.7 billion, and the US services trade deficit with India was 5.4 billion in 2019. US foreign direct investment in India stock was 45.9 billion in 19 and has grown over the years. Below are some of the major service sectors which demonstrate strong potential for the growth jointly with India and US. IT BPM sectors hold potential to grow between 10 to 15% per annum. Healthcare, wherein we have had deliberations for teleradiology and other aspects of MVT, medical value travel, 110 billion is expected to reach US dollar 280 billion by 2023. And tourism employs 52% of the women workforce. US had the highest receipts of US dollar $214.1 billion in 2019 and rated third largest in tourism. Space sector, it has the potential to capture 9% of the global market share by 2030. According to the reports of EY, the Indian space economy is projected to grow to $13 billion by 2025 at a CAGR of 6%. Financial services sector has been identified as one of the most important service sectors by government authorities. Now we talk about bilateral trade and economic relations for India and US. Rapidly expanding trade and commercial linkages between India and the US form an important component of the multifaceted partnership between the two countries. Total bilateral trade, goods and services between India and US increased to a CAGR of 11.5% from $20 billion in 2000 to $142 billion in 2018. In 2021, overall, US-India bilateral trade in goods and services reached a record of $157 billion. Many US companies view India as a critical market and have expanded their operations. Likewise, Indian companies seek to increase their presence in the US markets, and at the end of 2020, Indian investments in the United States totaled $12.7 billion, supporting over 70,000 American jobs. Nearly 200,000 Indian students in the United States contribute to about $7.7 billion annually to the US economy. USA is the third largest investor in India with cumulative FDIs of 56,753 million. Exports, trends in services in India. The value of the exports April to January 2023 was $267.79 billion as compared to $206.27 billion in April-January 2021-22. In export destinations, we are happy to say, as on date, India and USA is #1 destination for India. Some of India's other top markets are Hong Kong, Singapore, Germany, Bangladesh, Netherlands, and Nepal. The PLI scheme has led to a steep increase in public investments and increased stabilizing economic backdrop, and financial oversight have provided investors with the perfect opportunity to invest in the countries. India-US trade relations have developed a global strategic partnership based on shared democratic values and increasing convergence of interests on bilateral, regional, and global issues. Despite COVID-19 pandemic, India-US cooperation witnessed intense engagement under various bilateral dialogues, mechanisms in a wide range of areas and services, including defense, security, health, trade, economic, science and technology, energy, and people-to-people ties. With the permission of our honored chair, we propose a coalition of services to be constituted between India and US under the aegis of IACC to enhance trade in services. The list of sponsors we thank, of course, which are Grant Thornton Bharat, HSBC Bank, Bird Group, the attorneys, and Continental Group. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Jyoti, for this theme speech, and it's a very important session as Honorable Minister is going to join. So I welcome all, and a special thanks to our Honorable Minister, because it's his third year he is addressing us, which is a very big achievement for our chamber, that ministry is also interested to grow business through this chamber. So should I, sir, should I invite you?
Our knowledge partner.
So, sir, would you like to speak, sir? Should I invite?
Now we could have the presentation from the worthy knowledge partner, MS Kalpana Balasubramanian.
Sure. So, I am just introducing her, sir.
Honorable Minister, sir, is here.
Yeah. So I welcome you, Honorable Minister, sir, on behalf of IACC as a Regional President Upasana Arora. I welcome you, and we are really thankful that you have taken time out from your busy schedule to address us. Now I will invite Dr. Lalit Bhasin, sir, who is our National President, to welcome our Honorable Minister, sir. Bhasin, sir, over to
Yes.
you.
Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Dr. Upasana Arora, the Regional President, Mr. Pankaj Bohra, the National Vice President, the other eminent participants, and our guest of honor, Mr. Jonathan M. Heimer, Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs, United States Embassy in India. Sir, this event is being held post the historic visit of our Prime Minister, first official visit very recently. And it also augurs well that a new ambassador has taken over in India as representative of the government of the United States. What was the outcome of the visit of the Honorable Prime Minister? The outcome has been great sense of mutual cooperation, coordination in every aspect of not only economic development, but also in the field of fighting terrorism, data protection, all the issues. Now, this particular event today, which your good self will be addressing, is essentially based on the outcome of the Honorable Prime Minister's visit, because in this we have highlighted the role of various services sector which come under the domain of your ministry, services sector being a very integral part of the development of every economy. So we have had sessions on legal services, the session on banking, finance and insurance, again a session on IT and ITES, session on travel, tourism and hospitality, and finally we also had a session on healthcare. As I read in the newspapers, when President Biden presented a shirt to our Honorable Prime Minister, it had AI written under that, America, India. Therefore, now what is significant and important is that now AI would stand for America-India relationships, America-India coordination, America-India cooperation. And as Ambassador Garcetti recently said, that our relationship is based on trust. It is based on mutual trust, and this trust is not going to disappear in a matter of 5 years or 10 years. It is going to be an everlasting trust. So that is the basis, you see, of our seminar today, how to promote services sector between India and the United States. So with these words of welcome to your good self, as Dr. Upasana Arora has said, that you have been gracious enough to find time for this important seminar, I now request our knowledge partner Kalpana Subramaniam, CEO and Chief Thinker, Grant Thornton, you see, to make her brief presentation. But please, everyone should keep in mind that we are here to have the views and address of the Honorable Minister. Therefore, please be brief and up to the point. Thank you. Over to you, Kalpana.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me properly. Thanks for providing me an opportunity to be of, service to you today to share some of our views. I think from probably starting on a note of saying, okay, what are the different commonalities that we find even from a culture perspective between US and India? We think both countries promote diversity. We are large countries where we have diverse sets of people living freely with freedom of speech, and making sure that, you know, that there is cultural diversity and mutual respect for the diversity. And apart from that, we also find that, you know, that both countries enjoy entertainment, sports, and very bound by entrepreneurial spirit. I think even 2000 years ago, Indians dared to be entrepreneurs, and we have seen the golden era, and we are shortly expecting to welcome it back. With that, you know, from a point of view of maybe similarity, we think the culture match is very high with the US country and domain, and more importantly, from a probably from a looking at an innovation and technology spirit, I think the entire critical technology future of tech kind of you know, entire world's future in one sense would depend on the collaboration between these two countries. Why do we say that? Because, you know, from US, I think there is several pieces of innovation across both, let's say, infrastructure as well as software. We have seen how India has actually caught up with maybe things like Aadhaar, looking at, you know, how we have actually grown up a homegrown telecom, which is able to provide internet to so many people, and that too at a data cost which is probably unheard of elsewhere. There are, of course, several other areas where we have, you know, a corridor for technology where we can actually innovate for the future. We also feel that in the area of re-globalization, where perhaps certain of the things people would like to collaborate and certain other topics they would like to decouple, India and US have actually looked at seeing how they can fight the war of maybe cyber crime, fight the war of security online, looking at transparency in AI, looking at adoption of AI, and so on and so forth. This presents a massive opportunity for the Indian entrepreneurial technology group, as well as all the industries that are dependent on technology per se, from a point of view of innovation. I'd like to end this short view by saying that the greatest opportunity presents itself, you know, only few times, and this is one of those times. And to quote Abraham Lincoln, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalpana. Short and sweet, but content-wise, very illuminating address from you. And now I have great pleasure in inviting our guest of honor, Mr. Jonathan Heimer, Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs, to please make his to give his address. Mr. Heimer, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much to the IACC and Dr. Bhasin. You've been a wonderful partner to me personally and to the United States-India relationship, and I want to thank you for that. Instead of talking about the service sector specifics, and you have a lot of experts to do that today, I'd just like to think back about where India is coming from, where the US-India relationship is coming from. The IACC was started 55 years ago this year in 1968. At that time, the per capita income of Indians was about $100. And the bilateral trade between the United States and India was close to zero. And of course, in the 55 years since, the relationship and the bilateral connections has exploded. How has that happened? I think this will inform how to accelerate Indo-US services going forward. And it happened because of the hard work, the vision, the wisdom, the flexibility, and the love of country that the members of the IACC have had over these last decades. Think about what the India that their grandparents gave to them as they retired and they were their grandchildren. Now think about the India that Dr. Bhasin is giving to his grandchildren. In just these 2 generations, you can see so much tremendous growth. And it was because of that hard work, that love of country, the vision for a better future for their country and for their families. That's how the India-US service sector relationship was developed. And I have no doubt that the India-US service sector will continue to develop as long as the next generation, the younger people listening to this today, continue to dedicate themselves to the US-India relationship, to the hard work, wisdom, flexibility, and the vision to create a better future for themselves and their country. And that's really all I really want to say, because right now we are witnessing a tremendous flowering of the relationship. And as long as we continue to work hard to further this development, further this relationship, I'm sure we will have many years of peaceful, prosperous connections in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. Heimer. A brilliant submission made by you. And now have great pleasure in inviting the Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal, to deliver his special address to the participants. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Dr. Upasana Arora, Mr. Pankaj Bora, Ms. Jyoti Kaur, Ms. Kalpana Balasubramaniam, Councillor Commercial from the US Embassy, and all the distinguished participants at this Indo-US Services Summit. I recall that sometime in July 2 years ago, I had addressed the second Services Summit. I think these kind of engagements contribute hugely to understanding each other, creating greater awareness of opportunities and the high potential that the services sector holds for growing the relationship between our 2 great democracies, the United States and India. I'm sure your summit this time also will result in opening the doors wider for greater engagement between our 2 countries. The Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had once said, and I quote, "The India-US is not a partnership of convenience. It's a partnership of conviction, compassion, and the shared commitment for a better world." We are trusted partners. We both believe in the rule of law. We both have very strong people-to-people, business-to-business partnerships. Our economies talk to each other seamlessly. Our regulators are comfortable with each other. Our professionals contribute to each other's growth and development. And all of these put together, coupled with the strong personal bonhomie and relationship at the senior-most leader level, at our ministerial level, between the 2 administrations, between our two parliaments, the Congress and Parliament in India, between our businesses and the people at large, make up for a beautiful journey of several decades, leading into a very glorious future that we hope to give to the next generation. The Indo-US ties are at its best. They have never seen a better time before. And services truly is contributing very significantly, almost creating a revolution of sorts in terms of our mutual engagement and bringing the two nations closer together, boosting the economic growth of both the nations. As we are all aware, the United States of America is India's largest trading partner, particularly in services, and the services trade between the two countries has grown exponentially in the last few years. I think calendar 22, it was nearly $59 billion. And I have no doubt that we will continue to work together to taking it to much greater heights. The Honorable Prime Minister's US visit was not just a diplomatic visit. It was laden with a lot of purpose, a lot of progress, a lot of potential, and a lot of possibilities. And look at the kind of agreements that they have entered into, the wide range of decisions that were taken. The initiative on critical and emerging technologies, the ISET initiative, which will lead to advanced cooperation in the fields of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, semiconductors, our telecom engagement on 5G and potential joint development of 6G, our work together in this field of biotech, space. The possibilities are truly endless. In a way, it's a win-win partnership for both countries. And I hope this visit will unlock new value, new opportunities for businesses across the border. It will further enhance the ties between the two nations and our people, and the opening of the two consulates in Bengaluru and Ahmedabad, with the two consulates being opened in America, will collectively all make it easier both for trade, investments, and tourism. I hope these will also result in faster processing of H-1B visas or their renewals, as is envisaged in the joint statement between the two leaders. The very, very monumental and historic decision to end 6 WTO trade disputes, several of them festering for decades, is unparalleled in the history of the World Trade Organization. Never before have two large nations been able to bilaterally resolve such difficult subjects bilaterally, amicably, smoothly, and in the best interest of both nations. Friends, the growing defense and strategic partnership, the 2+2 ministerial dialogue, the two quads, I2U2, and the one between Japan, Australia, the US, and India, the IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, all of these further our relations and are effective platforms which will certainly support growth in the services sector also. Trade, technology, and tourism are the crucial pillars on which we have guided all our missions worldwide to engage with the respective countries. And I'm happy to share with you that the Indian mission, both the mission in Washington and the consulates across the country, are truly doing a fantastic job in building the bridges, opening new avenues, and supporting Indian businesses. Gone are the days when Indian missions were very hesitant to engage or support Indian industry or businesses. Today, we work proactively. Commerce and the Foreign Ministry work seamlessly and are ever willing to support industry engagement on both sides, leading up to greater economic activity. Friends, in terms of investment also, the services sector has been a driver of promoting investments on both sides. The other day I was in New York some time back, and I was amazed to see that the lead sponsor of the New York Marathon was TCS. It shows that our companies in the services sector are becoming increasingly relevant to the US ecosystem and are also contributing. We all know about the various donations made by several alumni to universities in the US. I visited the Tata TCS Center just outside of New York, Manhattan, where they have a center of excellence. So lots that's happening between the two countries, and a lot of investment flows between the two countries. A lot of technology flows, including the jet engine technology that has been agreed to be given to India, are being shared between the two countries, clearly showing that businesses and government are getting closer in our two nations. Tourism also has seen a significant growth in the last year, and I'm confident will continue to grow in the years to come. Today, India's youth is on a turbocharge, is supercharged with new ideas, with innovative ideas, with a lot of out-of-box solutions to day-to-day problems. Their talent, their skills are all-pervading, being recognized by businesses. Our engineers, our STEM graduates are increasingly playing an important role in the US economy. Not only are we contributing our management talent to Fortune 500 or American large corporates, we now have our very own Mr. Ajay Banga from India leading or heading the World Bank as its president. While we may be divided by geography, we are united by ambition. And this is what brings us closer together. This is what will mutually benefit our two nations. There's so much complementarity between the US and India. There's so much that we can do together, moving beyond being a low-cost labor or low-cost provider of services to a high-value addition provider of goods and services. And I think the direction is right. India is an attractive destination for US corporations with established technology centers and big markets which are available in India, and from India, the competitive edge to supply to the rest of the world. Similarly, India has a lot to offer to the US, particularly in the field of technology, in the field of digital public infrastructure, and to help build innovative solutions. Gift City in Gujarat is another opportunity for US companies in the financial and other services sector to leverage India's big market get very easy regulatory approvals, very seamless and a high level of ease of doing business for American companies to come and work in India. Education is another area where the National Education Policy 2020 opens up huge opportunity for US campuses, top universities to come to India, work in India. I think the way forward is for us to catalyze our cooperation in newer areas, for example, hospitality, agri-tech, entertainment. We can grow our fintech ecosystem. A lot of potential in cyber security, telemedicine, tourism. India's significant contribution in the traditional medicine streams. We just saw the Honorable Prime Minister participate in a Guinness World Record breaking yoga event at the UN headquarters on 21st June, the International Day of Yoga. So really remarkable newer areas where we can expand our cooperation. We'll be happy to learn from the United States in a bigger way, areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, data mining, analytics. All of these are areas where we have good capabilities. We need to marry our capabilities, American innovation and technology, for a win-win partnership. We'll soon be coming out with a digital personal data protection bill, introduce it in Parliament so that we can further improvise our digital ecosystem, make it more robust, easier to operate in, while protecting the interests of our consumers. There are huge opportunities for our accounting firms, business processing firms, architects, consulting engineers to tap into the vast US market. In fact, I would suggest to the IACC to consider doing a study on which are the areas which we should focus on, what are the low-hanging fruits, how we can build bridges between opportunities and talent, and what can the government do to act as an enabler without without interfering in your businesses or a cause of concern. We only want to be on the sidelines and facilitate your business, something like was done for the IT sector, to ensure its orderly growth, yet give them the ability to flourish and prosper on their own. As the Honorable Prime Minister said at the US Congress, and I quote, "Together we shall give a better future to the world and a better world to the future." I think it truly is a philosophical comment, very, very powerful in terms of its messaging. And if we all take this message as our takeaway from this very important program, where we are visioning for accelerating the India-US services sector, I think this summit would have been truly a grand success. My best wishes to you, Lalit ji, and your entire team. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir. It was a brilliant, illuminating address. And the last thing which you spoke, what the Prime Minister said in his address to the Congress, US Congress, that better world to the future, that is the responsibility of two of the greatest democracies in the world, which are committed to rule of law. And you also highlighted the need to catalyze areas where we can cooperate and new areas to be found for mutual cooperation. The IACC would certainly, sir, with great respect, do and explore areas to be where we can do more and where we can have the helping hand of the government. You said government is only a facilitator. No, but the government has been, at least under the present regime, the moving force to bring about cooperation, particularly when mutual trade and commerce is concerned. So we will be submitting our plan of action as suggested by your good self to your ministry, and we'll take it forward. Now, I have great pleasure in requesting our Senior Vice President, Mr. Pankaj Bora, to give his concluding address and thank the Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Bhasin. Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs, Embassy of USA in India, Mr. Jonathan Heimer. National President of IACC, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Regional President, Dr. Upasana Arora, our esteemed panelists, valued delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a warm welcome to you all. It is indeed my proud privilege and honor to express our deep appreciation to Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal ji for accepting our invitation, sparing time from his busy schedule and being with us this afternoon. Sir, your presence today with us is a testament from Government of India of its commitment to the services sector. Minister Sir, this is the third Indo-US Services Summit organized by IACC. On earlier two occasions, we have had privilege of hearing your inaugural address, and inspired by your inaugural addresses, IACC leadership has decided to have this Indo-US Services Summit as an annual event. And we hope that in future also you will continue to address us and enlighten us as to how do we work, how India and US can work together on US services sector. As we all know, services play a significant role in any economy, especially in case of USA in India, where in USA services are contributing 77% of its GDP, and in India it's around 50% of GDP. So services are drivers of growth of these two economies. And in addition, the rapid technological advances are giving us a new direction to the services sector. So IACC leadership, under your guidance, foresee a vast opportunity of having bilateral collaboration between India and USA in services sector in the days ahead. Sir, today we had 5 very enlightening and engaging sessions on different sectors of services, where our esteemed speakers have shared their knowledge, experience and vision on various sectors. Scores of points have cropped up during the discussion, which need immediate attention of the policymakers and the other stakeholders. My colleagues at IACC will compile all those points and put forward some of the relevant points before your good self and with other stakeholders, so that how fast we can remove the impediments and grow this services sector faster. Honorable Minister, today we are honored to hear from you about opportunities and potentials in services sector. You very rightly observed we have a great future in emerging technologies. And your observation that our young talent is very energetic. They want to do something extraordinary. And under the guidance of the present government and your good self, we hope India's services sector will grow and our bilateral trade and on services sector with USA will grow. faster. Your observation about the opportunities in the gift city, in financial sector and the fintech, opportunities in the education with the new education policy, how American colleges can have campuses in India and the vice versa. Digital data protection bill you have talked about. You have also told us about how Quad and Indo-Pacific Economic Forum is bringing new opportunities for India in services sector. So we look forward to work hard, and I assure you, sir, we would conduct a study and figure out where are the opportunities, and we'll approach you how government can facilitate services sector and how the services sector grow even faster. IACC is very sure, under your extensive experience, you yourself come from services sector and commitment to the services sector, Indo-US services sector in particular and Indian service sector in general will grow at a very fast speed. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. I would also like to express our gratitude to Minister Consular Mr. Jonathan Heimer and his colleagues from US Embassy in India for their active participation and support for today's event. My sincere thanks to all learned speakers who joined us from India and abroad and have shared their knowledge, experience and vision as to how bilateral trade between India and USA in services sector can grow. Needless to say, our delegates are our source of information, strength. We greatly value their presence, their active participation and inquisitiveness inspire us to organize many more such events in future. Thank you very much for actively participating in this event from different parts of the world. IACC also expresses sincere thanks to today's knowledge partner Grant Thornton Bharat and other associate partners, HSBC Bank, the attorneys, Bird Group and Continental Group. Last but not the least, thank you very much IACC team for putting everything together and making this event a success. So once again, Minister Sir, thank you very much for being with us, and thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Mr. Heimer.
Thank you, Mr. Heimer. Thank you so much for being with us and all your help.
Thank you, Kalpana.
I think all of them are on mute, so we are unable to hear them.
No, thank you. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir. It was a very, very successful event. So congratulations to our secretariat. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Arora. Thank you, Dr. Bhasin, as usual.